Hello everyone, welcome to the brief introduction to Access. So I know that not everybody is a visual learner and reading may not be your thing. So I'm just going to read from the textbook and you can put this video down and just listen to the auditory of it, put your headphones in, listen to it if you want. I'm going to have some nice title slides throughout here, so every topic that I bring up will have a title slide, and I'll have the breakdown of those in the description below this video. So you can see if you're just looking for a particular topic, you can go and look at the description and where it's found to in this video, and then scrub until you get there. So I'm going to start reading, and hopefully this helps you with your understanding of Access a little bit more. So this one is around the first project, so it's the introduction to Access. So the term database describes a collection of data organized in a manner that allows access, retrieval, and use of that data. Microsoft Access 2016, usually referred to as simply Access, is a database management system. A database management system is software that allows you to use a computer to create a database, add, change, and delete data in the database, ask and answer questions concerning the data, and create forms and reports using the data. So a database management system, try and think of if you were a medical admin student and you were going to end up working with, say, Eastern Health. There are over 100,000 records in Eastern Health. So what you would do is to keep a record of each one of those people, they would go into the database. So you would create one record per person. So say Colette, Girl, and me, I would be number 1 as the record starts, and then my name, my address, my personal information, and things like that. That would all be in one record. So it's kind of like keeping track of every single person in a database, or every single thing or product or something like that. So in order to have your database, you can have a relational database. So that would be a database consisting of a collection of tables, each of which contains information on a specific subject. And the relational part of it means that each of those tables can be connected. So that means that maybe in an account table, and beneath it you have just account, and beneath that you have clients. So maybe one record from clients are the same records that are in account tables, so they all have a relationship to one another. It's not just individual information in an account table that has nothing to do with clients or nothing to do with account. So relational database means that they all have a relationship with one another. So a record are the rows that you see in the tables when you create a table. A record contains information about a given person, product, or event. So the rows are, think of the horizon, so they're horizontal. When you're looking across, that's the record that you're going to keep. So it can start with your different columns of information, so say name, address, like I was just using in my last example for Eastern Health, name, address, contact information, primary contact, that could be the name of the columns, but all that information will go in one row for one person or one record. So the next one is going to be a primary key. You might see a little key in the design view when you're looking at Access. So that's always usually going to be in the very first column that you see. It's a unique identifier, and it is a way of uniquely identifying each record in the database. A given identifier will only appear in a single record in a table, and it's called the primary key. And it means that no two records can have the same value as the primary key. So think of numbers, it's the easiest way. And when you create a table in Access, it automatically comes up that the first column is auto-numbered for the data type. That may be a little bit over your head just yet. But what the thing I want you to take away from this is that the primary key is usually the first column, and it's always going to be unique. So each record's going to have some sort of unique identifier. So what if in Eastern Health there were 2 Colette Garlands? Well, that can't be the unique identifier because there's two names that are the same. So typically they go with number systems. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and you can't have two ones or two twos. So that's why a column is chosen as the primary key, because that record, that number in that record will never be duplicated. So you'll always be able to find the record you're looking for by looking for that primary key. Okay, so creating a database. In Access, all the tables, reports, forms, and queries that you create are stored in a single file called a database. A database is a structure that can store information about multiple types of objects, the properties of those objects, and the relationships among the objects. The first step is to create the database that will hold your tables, reports, forms, and queries. You can either use the blank desktop database option or a template to create a new database. If you already know the tables and fields you want in your database, you would use the blank desktop database option. If not, you can use a template. Templates can guide you by suggesting some commonly used databases. So for every project that you do in our course, it's going to be given to you. The templates are all there, so you don't have to worry about creating the database. Basically for you guys, all it means is opening the file that's given to you. But if you wanted to create one in the workplace and they didn't give you a template, you can look for a template, or you can have a blank copy. Same within Word. When you want to just type a blank document, you would choose blank. But there's also templates in Word where you can choose schedule or resume or resignation letter, lots of templates like that in Word, and you can see them when you first open up Word, and those options are all there. Same thing with Access, but for our purposes, those are all given to you. So for the Access window, it consists of a variety of components to make your work more efficient. These include the navigation pane, which is to the left when you open up your Access database. The Access work area, which is to the right. It's either the views that you're going to look at, the database or the data sheet or the design or other different views depending on what you've created. The ribbon, which is up at top, which we've talked about lots of times, so it's the same kind of ribbon. The shortcut menus and the quick access toolbar. Some of these components are common to other Microsoft apps, and some are unique to Access, like the navigation pane. So for organizing your files and folders, when you save it to your desktop, make sure that you save it with a name that you're going to remember. So when you click the Save File up on the very top ribbon, the red bar or orange bar right up at the top, click that Save File, Save As, a name that you're going to, the name that you need to for Sam, but make sure you put it in a folder that you're going to remember, whether it goes to your downloads or whether you create a specific folder for your Access projects, or maybe you just put it on your desktop. But always make sure when you save your projects that you see where they're going, what folder they're going into. Okay, so the navigation pane and the Access work area, so that's the left and the right, big areas on the screen that you're looking at. You work on objects such as tables, forms, and reports in the Access work area to the right. In the work area, object tabs for the open objects appear at the top of the work area, so tabs that show up on the top at the right hand side. If you have multiple objects open at the same time, you can select one of the open objects by clicking its tab. Only one shows up at a time, the rest will hide behind the other tabs. To the left of the work area is the navigation pane. The navigation pane contains a list of all the objects in the database, so all your tables, all your forms, all your queries, and all your reports. There's 4 different types of things that you can create in Access, and they all show up in your navigation pane. You use this pane to open an object just by double-clicking on it. You'll open it, or you can right-click and choose to open it that way as well. You can also customize the way the objects are displayed in the navigation pane. The status bar located at the bottom of the Access window presents information about the database object, the progress of current tasks, and the status of current commands and keys. It also provides controls for viewing the objects. As you type text or perform certain commands, various indicators might appear on the status bar. The left edge of the status bar shows that the table object is open in Datasheet view. So the left edge is where you can see what views they're in. So as you change the views, notice that the little icon on the bottom left changes, and it's also somewhere you can click and change the views down there as well. In the datasheet view, the table is represented as a collection of rows and columns called a datasheet. Toward the right edge are view buttons, which you can use to change the view that currently appears. So when you have your work area open, something open, whether it's a table or a form, up in the top left will show you the different views that you can change, and also the bottom right will also be another way that you can change the views, which is down on the status bar, and they're just little tiny icons that look no bigger than half your fingernail kind of thing. Okay, so determining tables and fields. Once you've created the database, you need to create the tables and fields that your database will contain. Before doing so, however, you need to make some decisions regarding the tables and fields. Naming tables and fields. In creating your database, you must name tables, fields, and other objects. Before beginning the design process, you must understand the rules Access applies to table and field names. These rules are, names can be up to 64 characters in length, so that's the name of a column. Names can contain, the name of a table. Names can contain letters, digits, and spaces, as well as most of the punctuation symbols. Names cannot contain periods, exclamation points, accent grave, or square brackets. Each field in a table must have a unique name. The approach to naming tables and fields used in this text is to begin the names with an uppercase letter and to use lowercase for the other letters. In multiple word names, each word begins with an uppercase and there's a space between the words. For example, account, capital A, space, number, capital N. So determining the primary key, which I talked about earlier, it uniquely identifies each record. For each table, you need to determine the primary key, the unique identifier. In many cases, you will have obvious choices such as account number or account manager number. If you do not have an obvious choice, you can use the primary key that Access automatically creates. It's a field called ID, and it is an auto number field, which means that Access will assign the value 1 to the first record, 2 to the second, and so on. Determining data types for the fields. For each field in your database, you must determine the field's data type, that is, the type of data that can be stored in the field. 4 of the most commonly used types are short text, which is a field that can contain a max number of 255 characters. Number, which means that field can only contain numbers. They can be either positive or negative and can be used in arithmetic operations. You usually assign fields that contain numbers but will not be used for arithmetic operations such as postal codes. Number 3 is currency. The field can contain only monetary data. The values will appear with currency symbols such as $signs, commas, and decimal points, and with 2 digits following the decimal point. Like numeric fields, you can use currency fields in arithmetic operations. Access assigns a size to currency fields automatically. Number 4 is date and time. The field can contain dates and or times. Creating a table. So to create a table in Access, you must define its structure. That is, you must define all the fields that make up the table and their characteristics. You must also indicate the primary key. In Access, you can use 2 different views to create a table, Datasheet View and Design View. In Datasheet View, the data in the table is presented in rows and columns similar to a spreadsheet in Excel. Although the main reason to use Datasheet View is to add or update records in a table, you can also use it to create a table or to later modify its structure. The other view, Design View, is only used to create a table or to modify the structure of a table. As you might expect, Design View has more functionality for creating a table than Datasheet View. That is, there are certain actions that can only be performed in Design View. One such action is assigning single as the field size for a bonus rate field, for example. In this module, you will create the first table, which is for your textbook, your account manager table in Datasheet View. When Datasheet View, you can enter in your rows, so your record, you can enter in a record each one, and you can create columns. And with the columns, you can create the data type that goes with it. And most times you will go to Design View to edit anything in a table. Whichever view you choose to use before creating the table, you need to know the names and data types of the fields that will make up the table. You can also decide to enter a description for a particular field to explain important details about the field. When you select this field, this description will appear on the status bar. You might also choose to assign a caption to a particular field. So in Design View, the caption is one of the columns on the farthest right. If you assign a caption, Access will display the value you assign rather than the field name in the Datasheet view. If you do not assign a caption, Access will display the field name. You would use a caption whenever you want something other than the field name displayed. So sometimes in your projects you might see, say for account manager number, I know this one, you have to change the caption to capital A, capital M, and a number sign or hashtag. So that will show up then when you switch to Datasheet View as the name of the field. So once you put that in caption in Design View, when you head back to Datasheet View, the name of the field will be changed. Making changes to the structure. So when creating a table, check the entries carefully to ensure they are correct. If you discover a mistake while still typing the entry, you can correct the error by repeatedly pressing the backspace key until the incorrect characters are removed. Then type the correct characters. If you do not discover a mistake until later, you can use the following techniques to make the necessary changes to the structure. To undo your most recent change, click the Undo button on the Quick Access toolbar up at the very top. If there's nothing that Access can undo, this button will be dim, and clicking it will have no effect. So to delete a field, right-click the column heading for the field, the position containing the field name, and then click Delete Field on the shortcut menu. To change the name of a field, right-click the column heading for the field, click Rename Field on the shortcut menu, and then type the desired field name. To insert a field as the last field, click the Click to Add column heading, click the appropriate data type on the menu of available data types, type the desired field name, and if necessary, change the field size. To insert a field between existing fields, right-click the column heading for the field that will follow the new field, and then click Insert Field on the shortcut menu. Right-click the column heading for the field, click Rename Field on the shortcut menu, and then type the desired field name. To move a field, click the column heading for the field to be moved to select the field and then drag the field to the desired position. So click and drag once you're on the column name. As an alternative to these steps, you might want to start over. To do so, click the Close button for the table and then click the No button in the Microsoft Access dialog box, which is for saving it. Click Create on the ribbon and then click the Table button to create the table. You can then repeat the process you used earlier to define the fields in the table. Checking the structure in Design View. You can use Design View to carefully check the entries you've made. So make sure that the very top row, usually that's the primary key, look for a little key symbol right next to it in the left-hand side of your work area. If you don't see a key, check which one is supposed to be, which field is supposed to be the primary key, and then just click primary key up on your toolbar. And you can also check the data type, description, field size, and caption to make sure those are all correct. For the other fields, you can see the field name, data type, and description without taking any special action. To see the field size and or caption field for a field, click the field's row selector, the small box to the left of the field. Clicking the row selector for the last name field, for example, displays the properties of that field. So to display properties as well, you can click on a field, so account number, last name, first name, whatnot, and then in the top up on the toolbar on the right hand side will say properties, and you click on that and your properties will show up as well. So you can check there and make sure that you have followed the directions properly, and if you find any mistakes you can make the necessary corrections on that screen, and when you finish, click your save button. Making changes to the data. As you enter data, check your entries carefully to ensure that they are correct. If you make a mistake and discover it before you press the Tab key, correct it by pressing the backspace key until the incorrect characters are removed, and then type the correct characters. If you do not discover your mistake until later, you can use the following techniques to make the necessary corrections to your data. So again, to undo your most recent change, click the Undo button on the Quick Access toolbar. If there's nothing that Access can do, this button will be dimmed and clicking it will have no effect. To add a record, click the New or Blank Record button. Click the position for the where you want the field on the first open record and then add it. Do not worry about it being in the correct position in the table. Access will reposition the record based on the primary key. To delete a record, click the record selector for the record that you want to delete, so the field name, and then press the delete key to delete the record, and click the yes button when Access asks you to verify that you want to delete the record. To change the contents of one or more fields in the record, it must be on the screen. If it is not, use any appropriate technique, such as the up arrow, down arrow, or use your mouse to go click on the field that you need. You can also use the horizontal scroll bar on the bottom of your screen to make sure that you find the right field that you're looking for. If the value in the field is currently highlighted, you can simply type the new value. If you would rather edit the existing value, you must have an insertion point in the field. So you can place the insertion point in by clicking in the field or by pressing the F2 key. And then you can use the arrow keys and the delete key and the backspace key for making the correction. You can also use the insert key to switch between insert and overtype mode. When you have made the change, press the Tab key to move to the next field, or use your mouse and click onto the next field. If you cannot determine how to correct the data, you may find that you are stuck on the record, in which case Access neither allows you to move to another record nor allows you to close the table until you've made the correction. If you encounter this situation, simply press the Exit key. Pressing the Exit key will remove from the screen the record you are trying to add, and then you can move to any other record, close the table, or take any other action that you desire. Previewing and printing the contents of a table. When working with a database, you will often need to print a copy of the table contents. Portrait orientation means the printout is across the width of the page. Landscape orientation means the printout is across the height of the page. To print the wide database table, you might prefer to use landscape orientation. A convenient way to change the landscape to landscape orientation is to preview what the printed copy will look like by using Print Preview. This allows you to determine whether landscape orientation is necessary, and if it is, to change the orientation easily to landscape. In addition, you can also use Print Preview to determine whether any adjustments are necessary to the page margins. So importing or linking data from other applications to Access. If your data for a table is stored in an Excel worksheet, you can import the data, which means to make a copy of the data as a table in the Access database. In this case, any changes that you make to the data in Access wouldn't be reflected in your Excel worksheet. So you can also take data that is, say, in a text file or any other kind of file. You would find that up on the top when it says external data on your ribbon, you click on that, and then in there you'll see import, export. There'll be two groups. Over on the farthest left hand side will be the import, and you will either see data source or you will already see a big list of different icons that you can click on for Excel or text or whatnot. And by importing it, you're bringing that information from an external source into your Access database. So one reason you might do that is because Excel only holds records of up to 3,000, and say a company started small and kept their records on Excel and then got bigger and bigger and needed more than 3,000 records, so they would have an Access database then, and you could just easily import all those records that were first created on Excel into a new table into your Access just by clicking that button. Correcting errors in the structure. So whenever you create or modify a table in Design View, you should check the entries carefully to make sure they're correct. If you make a mistake and discover it before you press the Tab key, you can correct the error by repeatedly pressing the backspace key until the incorrect characters are removed. Then type the correct characters. If you do not discover a mistake until later, you can click the entry, type the correct value, and then press the Enter key. You can use the following techniques to make changes to the structure. If you accidentally add an extra field to the structure, select the field by selecting the row selector, clicking on the row selector, the leftmost column on the row that contains the field to be deleted. Once you have selected the field, press the Delete key. This will remove the field from the structure. If you forget to include a field, select the field that will follow the one you want to add by clicking the row selector, and then press the Insert key. All these are going to be found either on your keyboard or up on your toolbar. The remaining fields move down one row, making room for the missing field. Make the entries for the new field in the usual manner. If you made the wrong field a primary key field, click the correct primary key entry for the field and then click the primary key button, which is up Table Tools Design and in your Tools group. So up on your toolbar. To move a field, click the row selector for the field to be moved to select the field and then drag the field to the desired position. So that is the field selector is when you have your work area open in Design View on the farthest left hand side in front of the names, you're going to get a thick black arrow that points towards your record or your column names. And that's your row selector. Click and drag on that, and then you can bring it up and down where it needs to go. So additional database objects. A database contains many types of objects. Tables are the objects you use to store and manipulate your data. Access supports other important types of objects as well. Each object has a specific purpose that helps maximize the benefits of a database. Through queries, or questions, Access makes it possible to ask complex questions concerning the data in the database and then receive instant answers. Access also allows the user to produce attractive and useful forms for viewing and updating data. Additionally, Access includes report creation tools that make it easy to produce sophisticated reports for presenting data. So forms and reports are kind of aesthetically pleasing, concise data or bits of the data from your table, and your table is going to be the main thing. Your table has all of your information in it. Your queries ask questions of the tables that you have created, and the forms and reports again are just aesthetically pleasing for presenting or viewing. Creating a query. Queries are simply questions, the answers to which are in the database. Access contains a powerful query feature that helps you find the answers to a wide variety of questions. Once you have examined the question you want to ask to determine the fields involved in the question, you can begin creating the query. If the query involves no special sort order, restrictions, or calculations, you can use the simple query wizard. So to create a query, you go up on your toolbar, you click Create, and then you're going to see a bunch of different groups there. You're going to see the form and the report and the query, and you look to the query, and usually for your projects you're going to use Query Design because those wizards make it easy. They ask you the questions and prompt you to put in the correct information, so that will be good. Query Design is usually the one that we use. Using queries. After you've created and saved a query, Access stores it as a database object and makes it available for use in a variety of ways. So once you create any query or form or report, they will all go into the navigation pane underneath your table, which is on the left-hand side of your work area. If you want to change the design of the query, right-click the query in the navigation pane and then click Design View on the shortcut menu to open the query in Design View. To view the results of the query from Design View, click the Run button to instruct Access to run the query or ask the question, and then perform the necessary actions to produce and display the results in Datasheet View. To view the results of the query from the navigation pane, open it by right-clicking the query and clicking Open on the shortcut menu. Access automatically runs the query and displays the results in Datasheet View. To print the results with the query open in either Design View or Datasheet View, click File on the top ribbon, click the Print tab, and then click either Print or Quick Print. To print the query without first opening it, be sure the query is selected in the navigation pane and click File on the ribbon, click the Print tab, and then click either Print or Quick Print. You can switch between views of a query using the View button, which is on the Home tab in the Views group. Clicking the arrow in the bottom of the button produces the View button menu. You can then click the desired view in the menu. The two query views you will use in this module are Datasheet View, which displays the query results, and Design View, which gives you the ability to change your query design. You can also click the top part of the View button, in which case you will switch to the view identified by the icon on the button. For the most part, the icon on the button represents the view you want, so you can usually simply click the button. Another way to change views is down on the status bar I mentioned earlier on the bottom right. You'll see icons down there as well. You can switch down there too. Creating a form. So you're going to want to go to the Create tab on the top ribbon and click in there, and then you will see, again, Query, Report, and Forms. There will be a few different forms that you can click on. You can click Blank Form and then choose what table you want to base it off afterwards, but the quickest way to do them is to click on the table in the navigation pane, the right one that you want to base your form off of, and then click Simple Form, and that will create the form for you. And then in Datasheet View, you can view many records at once. If there are many fields, however, only some of the fields in each record might be visible at a time. In Form View, where data is displayed in a form on the screen, you can usually see all the fields, but only for one record. So there will be like a next, or last button on the very bottom down near the status bar to get to the next record, because each record will show up as a separate form in the work area. Using a form. So after you have saved a form, you can use it at any time by right-clicking the form in the navigation pane and then clicking Open on the shortcut menu, or you can double-click on it. In addition to viewing data in the form, you can also use it to enter or update data, a process that is very similar to updating data using a data sheet. If you plan to use the form to enter or revise data, you must ensure you are viewing the form in Form View. Okay, so to create a report is much the same way as you created your form. So you're going to go up to Create on the tab, and then you're going to see the groups there again, Query, Form, and Report. So you're going to go, if you choose Blank Report, then you have to manually pick which table you want it to be based off of. So the quickest way that we do it is make sure that you have the right table selected. This is the similar process to creating a form. So click the right table that you want to base your report off of. Then click on Simple Report, and it will create the report for you. So using Layout View in a report, Access has 4 different ways to view reports: Report View, Print Preview, Layout View, and Design View. Report View shows the report on the screen. Print Preview shows the report as it will appear when printed. Layout View is similar to Report View in that it shows the report on the screen, but it also allows you to make changes to the report. Layout View is usually the easiest way to make such changes. Design View also allows you to make changes, but does not show you the actual report. Design View is most useful when the changes you need to make are especially complex. Database properties. Access helps you organize and identify your databases by using database properties, which are the details about a file. Database properties, also known as metadata, can include such information as the project, author, title, or subject. Keywords are words or phrases that further describe the database. For example, a class name or database topic can describe the file's purpose or content. 5 different types of database properties exist, but the more common ones used in this book are standard and automatically updated properties. So standard properties are associated with all Microsoft Office documents and include author, title, and subject. Automatically updated properties include file system properties such as the date you create or change a file and statistics such as the file size. Why would you want to assign database properties to a database? Database properties are very valuable for a variety of reasons. Users can save time locating a particular file because they can view a file's database properties without opening the database. So say when it was created, you want the most recent version. By creating consistent properties for files having similar content, users can better organize their databases. Some organizations require Access users to add database properties so that other employees can view details about these files. Special database operations. Additional operations involved in maintaining a database are backup, recovery, compacting, and repairing. Backup and recovery. It is possible to damage or destroy a database. Users can enter data that is incorrect. Programs that are updating the database can end abnormally during an update. A hardware problem can occur, and so on. After any such event has occurred, the database may contain invalid data or it might be totally destroyed. Obviously, you cannot allow a situation in which data has been damaged or destroyed to go uncorrected. You must somehow return the database to a correct state. This process is called recovery. That is, you recover the original database. The simplest approach to recovery involves periodically making a copy of the database called a backup copy or save copy. This is referred to as backing up the database. If a problem occurs, you correct the problem by overwriting the actual database, often referred to as the live database, with the backup copy. To back up the database that is currently open, you use the Backup Database command on the Save As tab in the Backstage view. In the process, Access suggests a name that is a combination of the database name and the current date. You can change this name if you desire, although it is a good idea to use this name. By doing so, it will be easy to distinguish between all the backup copies you have made to determine which is the most recent. In addition, if you discover that a critical problem occurred on October 18th, you may want to go back to the most recent backup before October 18th. If, for example, the database was not backed up on October 17th but was backed up on October 16th, you would have to go back to October 16th. To back up a database, you would use the following steps to back up the database to a file on a hard disk, high capacity removable disk, or other storage location. Number 1, open the database to be backed up. Number 2, click File on the ribbon to open the Backstage view and then click the Save As tab. Number 3, with Save Database As selected in the File Types area, click Backup Database in the Save Database As area and then click the Save As button. Number 4, navigate to the desired location in the Save As box. If you do not want the same name Access has suggested, enter the desired name in the file name text box. Number 5, click the Save button to back up the database. Access creates a backup copy with the desired name in the desired location. Should you ever need to recover the database using this backup copy, you can simply copy it over to the live version. Compacting and repairing a database. As you add more data to the database, it naturally grows larger. When you delete an object, records, tables, forms, or queries, the space previously occupied by the object does not become available for additional objects. Instead, the additional objects are given new space, that is, space that was not already allocated. To remove this empty space from the database, you must compact the database. The same option that compacts the database also repairs problems that might have occurred in the database. To compact and repair a database, you would, number 1, open the database to be compacted. Number 2, click File on the ribbon to open the Backstage view and then, if necessary, click the Info tab. Number 3, click the Compact and Repair Database button in the Info gallery to compact and repair the database. The database now is the compacted form of the original. Closing a database without exiting Access. You would use the following steps to close a database without exiting Access. So number 1, click File on the ribbon to open the Backstage view. Click Close. To save a database with another name. Number 1, click File on the ribbon to open the Backstage view and then select the Save As tab. Number 2, with Save Database As selected in the File Types area and Access Database selected in the Save Database As area, click the Save As button. Number 3, enter a name and select a location for the new version. And 4, click the Save button. To delete a table or other object in the database, so that would be a table, a form, a report, or a query. Number 1, right-click on the object in the navigation pane. Number 2, click Delete on the shortcut menu. Number 3, click the Yes button in the Microsoft Access dialog box. To rename an object in the database, number 1, right-click the object in the navigation pane. Number 2, click Rename on the shortcut menu. And number 3, type the new name and press the Enter key. Thank you for watching this video, which is your brief introduction to Access. The next video that you will see is going to be a little bit more about queries in a database. So that's going to be corresponding with your second textbook project. Good luck!